Thank you everybody for staying with us for the last story. In both of our traditions of growing up, sharing story, talk story around a kitchen table happened in our families. Repeating stories to remember and to connect us. And so we are weaving our story tonight to continue in that tradition and share it with you.
No, I think I'm gonna maybe, you guys do hear, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was born to a broken revolutionary, a survivor of prison and torture, an angry dreamer who swam in alcohol like fish in water. By the 1979 revolution, he had already taught me the land belongs to the tiller. The workers must own the factories. And most of the havoc in the world is wreaked by imperialist Western powers. By 9, I was already drawing red stars everywhere and sleeping on cold concrete floors, fasting to be prepared for prison. In other words, the 9-year-old self knew that I must resist, survive, and to resist some more. As a child of the revolution, I took so much pride in resisting the Islamic Republic that had hijacked our revolution and surviving the US-backed Iraq-Iran war. So I pulled back my scarf in front of morality police. I argued with my religious teachers. I remembered not to pick up doll-shaped explosives from the ground. And I tried to practice being brave as the ballistic missiles were whistling over my head. So when my probably closeted father concocted this plan of sending my mother, my brother, and I to America, I was ready to fight US imperialism, not embrace the American dream, whatever that is. Now, to be honest, in the beginning, I did start by giving my benefit of the doubt to America. After all, which 13-year-old doesn't want to belong? But much like what Malcolm said, I did not land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on me, or in my case, Southern Virginia. You see, the 1984 Roanoke and then later Virginia Beach had hardly seen any brown peoples. And there was no such a thing as English second language learner. So began my battle of remembering that my nose isn't too big and my hair doesn't need to be fixed. And I'm not stupid because I have an accent. The more they tried to push me in this tiny little box, the more I spiraled into dangerous places, but also some unimaginable spaces. Along the way, I picked up a few degrees. I worked as a soil specialist, as a special education teacher, as a public defender. I organized to stop the 2003 US war against Iraq. I found my soulmate. I love you, Reed. I mothered a child. Yet despite the resilience, despite being a survivor, and a little bit overly educated, I still felt melancholy, still full of rage, still displaced. You could say that Tucson was my last-ditch effort to find my home in an Iranian studies PhD. So on that August of 2014, in the middle of my PhD program, as I stood underneath that eucalyptus tree waiting for my sassy girl to come out of Khalsa Montessori school, I was more angry and tired and skeptical than ever. In fact, I had very little to no space for this feisty, petite white woman with short hair and laughing eyes who wanted me to meet her daughter.
Similarly, I was not in a space for my petite, feisty white mama to be introducing me to another person, a new person, as she was prone to do, if you know her in the audience.
Yep.
Invited or not, she loved to make the connections, and she saw a connection from being in mothers, for being in doctoral programs, but I did not see that. I was very insulated and very self-contained at that time. Yet, after time and over time of sharing stories, remembering that eucalyptus tree, you come to realize she was a mortal hummingbird, and she was seeing and knowing and manifesting a heart song connection that would last to now. And I started to learn to trust that heart song and continue going forward, following those paths that are illuminated for us. Anna and I both, this story is not new. It's stories of colonization, it's stories of nation building and the legacy of that, those aftermaths that continue on and cause pain and bring loss over the generations. Born and raised in Tucson, yet with a father from the Andes. My family has been marked by tragedy, in particular in Peru. My grandparents passed in a car accident in 1971, coming from Huanta to Huancayo. My mother, in 2015, passing again in Peru. So those stories that we share at the table connect us, connect my family, connect the communities that we come from, and they help us in our grief and loss. But they also inform our character and our personalities and our behavior, and similar to Anna, we grew up with carrying some of that anger that manifested or was internalized. Vivid images of my father running and barely making it to the funeral of his father and crying out, I never thought I would never see you again. Those images we carried them as the children and as the nieces and nephews. Or laughing stories of my mother trying to comfort orphaned uncles and aunts that came to live with us, with celebrating every holiday from any culture we were connected to in a way to heal. But those do stay with you. So those, I think of it as sandwiched or bookended moments in our lives. In 2015, no one ever really recovers from the loss of your mother, and continues that feeling of a generational trauma and pain. And so when we find ourselves in the pandemic and the 2020s, everybody is feeling that loss and looking to look within ourselves and around us to heal and to keep that light going. I remember Anna and that afternoon under a eucalyptus tree, and reach out and we start building a relationship, walking with our beautiful children in the washes, sitting under our own eucalyptus trees with lights, sharing stories. And we remember the power of stories and stories to heal, and that mortal hummingbird of my mother with her prescient actions of introducing us, coming into full fruition for us. And we would love to share that with everybody. I think all these stories have evoked that feeling of healing and stopping generational pain through friendship. a dear friend of ours. I would love to end this story with a quote that always comes to mind because, and I'm paraphrasing, Leslie Soko in Ceremony saying, stories, don't be fooled, they aren't just for entertainment. Stories are what we have to fight off illness and grief. And stories are that healing power that we have, and that realization that we all can have around this venue that we have here. So
I just want to end with saying that for me, this is home manifested. So thank you.